Hey guys, how's it going? Drunk Monkey 37 here. I know it's been a while, but life's annoying sometimes. I'm back here with another One Piece chapter review. Today we have chapter 1163, titled Promises. Before we get into the actual chapter, the cover story is, surprise, surprise, it's a request. And it's just Luffy doing parkour above a town in the clouds, just having some fun with some monkeys, and they're like dressed up pretty cool. One of them has like a cap on, so that's cool. I think the next actual cover story that's going to be a story. It's definitely going to be something from Egghead, so I think it's either going to follow Sengoku, Stussy, or the Remnants of Vegapunk. I think it's going to be one of those three options, but we'll see. Anyway, to get into the first. To get into the actual chapter, we open up with an image of Emu. Not this image, obviously, because, yeah. We see Saturn / Emu, like, taken over, or whatever. He's, like, looming over all the Marines. And all the Marines are like, oh, Saint Saturn, what on earth is happening right now? And Emu just says, such eyesores. And then he proceeds to produce a bunch of like shadow spikes out of one of Saturn's limbs, like, you know, the little like stabber stinger things he has. Yeah, he makes like little shadow ones, and he starts just stabbing everyone. Pirates, Marines, he don't give a fuck. And the Marines are obviously trying to fall back. They're all like, ah, shit. So then we cut to the Roger Pirates, and we see some of the members have been hit by Emu's attack. One of them, who appears to be rowing, the guy who's the scholar, is like saying this pain is oddly compelling, which is interesting because it's like he's not saying it's pleasurable, he's just saying it's oddly compelling, and that makes me think like even Emu's just basic attacks kind of have like a little, I don't want to use the word seduction, but like a lure to them to make people want to fight for him a little bit, maybe, who knows. And Roger's just like, what the hell is happening to my crew? So he orders Gaban to cover everyone and escape the treasure, obviously. And Gaban is like to Roger, oh, don't do anything crazy, as Roger is like running off to fight Emu in typical Luffy fashion. It really reminds me of when like Luffy does anything crazy, and then one of the saner crew members, like Nami or Usopp, is like, mate, no, don't do that. But it's also like trust, so it's a bit more like Sanji. Anyway, so yeah, I enjoyed that, and then we then cut to Garp, and he just fucking randomly grabs a Marine and he starts yelling at him. He's like, what in the fuck is that monster? And the poor Marine is just like, man, I don't know, Saturn just transformed and now we've got this. So then Garp then decides I can't speak today. Garp then proceeds to start shitting on Saturn, saying like, oh, I've never met an elder, but this is a fitting look for one of those maggots. And a bunch of the Marines are like, Garp, what are you saying? These are like the overseers of the world government, the Marines, everything. You can't be saying this. And Garp just does not give a shit, which I love. Garp is, you can really see the Luffy in him, or should I say you can really see him in Luffy. We then have another cut to Rox confronting Emu. Rox is like, hey, if it isn't the Rat King, come here to kill me yourself, huh? Which is hilarious because he's literally trying to rage bait the king of the world. Like, I fucking love Rox more and more every chapter. Furthermore, him calling Emu the Rat King is kind of interesting because he could be referencing how like Satan is associated with vermin and pest, and like comparing Emu to like the devil. Or he could be alluding to an actual Rat King, which is like a real life thing, where a bunch of rats get joined together at the tail and move as one. So this could be like paralleling the way Emu can control all the Elder Stars and the God's Knights. So Maybe there's a little bit subtle something there. Emu's response to this is, so thou art Davy Jones, which of course he speaks like Odin, because why wouldn't he? And it's pretty interesting because it's kind of the same reaction that Zunisha and Emmett both had when they saw Luffy in his like Nika form. They were like, "Oh, it's Joy Boy," and Luffy has the exact same reaction as Rox here. He's like, "No, don't know what you're on about." Rox literally says to Emu like, "Oh, I'm not the guy. I've never met him." So this could be a thing where Emu legitimately hasn't seen Jones in like hundreds of years, Davy Jones. So maybe he killed him or he died, and he hasn't seen him in hundreds of years. And maybe Rox is just like his spitting image or something. You never know. Or maybe it's just like a metaphorical thing and he's talking about the bloodline. And maybe he just sees him as like this one guy who was antagonistic towards him. Who knows? Anyway, Rox, like I said, he responds with, "Oh, I'm not the guy, I never met him." That being said, I believe promises are meant to be kept. Which, little side note, promises is the name of the chapter, so clearly has some significance. This seems to really trigger Emu as he explodes with this. And he's like, "Oh, this is exactly why your ilk must be expunged from history." I reckon this could have a couple meanings. It could be that Rox knows more about Davy Jones than he's let on to us. And maybe Jones was an antagonist to Emu, just like Joy Boy. Or maybe Rox knows even more about the Void Sentry. Like, maybe he knows about a promise between Joy Boy, Emu, and Jones. Maybe it was something like the Ace Saba Luffy Sake Cup moment. Maybe something like that. Or maybe Emu made a promise to Jones and he broke it, and this just kind of pisses him off. Or it could be that Jones like promised to destroy Emu and Rox is like just intending to fulfill his ancestor's promise. Whatever the case, this promise is clearly very important, especially given the whole chapter is named after it. Emu then tries to stab Rox with his stinger thingy, while saying Mew's world is incomplete. And Rox responds with like, "This world ain't yours," while slicing off the stinger. So he can be hurt, well, at least it seems so. But him saying Mew could just be a translation error. Or my theory, well, I say theory, not really a theory, but maybe Emu is more like an honorific by the elders and Mew is his actual name. Because don't take my 100% word for it, but I don't think we've actually seen anyone apart from the Elder Stars call him Emu. So like I said, maybe it's like an honorific, who knows. We then cut to Garp with some Marines, and the Marines are like, they're like saying, "Oh damn, Rox is fighting that monster," and they ask Garp, they're like, "Vice Admiral, what should we do? Should we provide backup?" And Garp's reaction to this is to say, "Of course we should," as he starts advancing. And we literally have a panel of him grinning ear to ear as his Marines like ask him, "Wait, who are we backing up?" Which is fucking hilarious because they're like, "Vice Admiral, who exactly are you helping? The Hell Demon that took over Saint Saturn, or the worst pirate around that we shouldn't really be associating with?" And I love how it's just got like Garp shit-eating grin on it. It's quite funny. We then cut to John, or who will be known as Captain John, part of the Rox Pirates, as like all the Marines and pirates are fighting over the treasure. We see his underlings getting ready to like get a transport ready to leave the island, and he's saying to himself, he's like, "Oh, I guess this is goodbye, Rox Pirates," which is kind of like the first instance that we see on God Valley of the Rox Pirates just kind of like abandoning the crew and like making their own way. We also see Dragon spotting a Navy ship, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the kid on, aka Shanks, on board." So, but then he starts getting pulled backwards by his rifle, and he's like, "What the hell?" So then we cut back to John, and he's using a technique called Big Eater. to attract all the metal on the islands towards him. So this does confirm what was kind of just like one panel where he had like a metal arm and people were like, oh, does he have kids fruit? Yeah, this chapter confirms it. We do see Gaban resist it, just as we see Roger resist it as well. So all the treasure on the island starts flying towards him, like all the treasure chests and everything. And then we cut to Gansui, and he's like, "Oh, John, what the hell?" And he uses the bonbon fruit. So we find out he was the previous user of the bonbon fruit. And funnily enough, he also uses his snot to attack people. I mean, it's more lethal than Mr. Five, but he also uses it. Which maybe that's like an inherited will thing, like what maybe that's like part of the fruit's will, like what Vegapunk was talking about. Who knows? Or maybe it's just like a funny coincidence. It's probably just Oda thinks it's really funny to use snot as a weapon. But as a result of this, we see Captain John get knocked out, and the magnetism stops, and Dragon goes flying. This is pretty funny because as soon as we see the previous magnet fruit user, he gets one shot. Which is really continuing the whole like Captain Mid thing meme. It's pretty funny. Last time we saw the present day magnet user, he got one shot, and then we see this guy and he's getting one shot. It's very funny. We then see Shiki like fly over and he's asking Gansui like, "Oh, why are you attacking John?" And Gansui replies with, "Well, he's taking all the treasure, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't plan to share. Also, all those chests you see are worth 1 billion berries, so of course everyone wants them. And Shiki like responds with billion, which is really funny. We do also see like 20 of these chests, and that's only in that panel. So there's a fuck ton of treasure on this island, and we literally see Gansui attack Shiki from the back. Like we have this panel of him like turning around, like shocked. But yeah, this could mean that this is what Captain John's treasure is, and why it's so massive is it could just be like this fuck ton amount of treasure from God Valley, and it's worth like billions and billions. And it could potentially be worth as much as an entire Emperor's crew, which when you think about it that way is absolutely nutty. So no wonder Bucky wanted it in the present day. But I'm pretty sure Shiki will be fine, as at least from my perspective, in the story he seems to be portrayed as like potentially one of the OG Yonko, alongside Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido, before the like emperors that we met in the present story. Also, we know he does confront Roger at a later date with a fuck off massive crew, which he might have used some of that treasure to fund, so maybe nick some of it. Also, we do know Gansui is going to die at some point, as he was a zombie on Thriller Bark, so maybe Shiki kills him in, who knows. We then cut to Garp running towards Emu, and this is really funny panel where like 10 Marines are like trying to hold him off, and he's just like, nah, I want to go hit that guy. And we also like kind of cut to like panels of Kaido, and we see that like Big Mom is flying in on Zeus, and she's like yelling at him and like, Kaido, I'm gonna kill you, and blah blah blah. And we, on the next page, we do cut to panels of like all the big players on the island. So we've got Big Mom, Kaido, Whitebeard, Rox, Roger, Garp, and they're all charging up named attacks. And Big Mom saying she's gonna kill Kaido. Kaido is mocking her. He's saying, "Oh, are you jealous? Check this out." As he charges up a Borrow Breath, which is such little brother energy, and it's fucking hilarious. He's like, "Oh really? Yeah, I nicked this thing from you. Oh, let me show you how it works." And Roger's like saying, "Oh, this is my catch, Garp," and I'm like, "There's no way he's trying to compete with Garp." when they're fighting like a little hell demon thing. Of course, they're still competing because why wouldn't they? Absolutely brilliant. And then we do cut to a beautiful double spread, and it's literally just all of them launching their attacks into a combined attack. That is the most insane thing we've ever seen, and probably one of the best like double spreads we've seen. We see Big Mom use Ikoku's sovereignty. Kaido uses Borrow Breath, but because he hasn't had the fruit long, he doesn't have a name for it, so he just calls it Dragon. Which is fucking hilarious. Whitebeard uses a Quake Punch, which he calls Shattering Void, which might be the first named attack of his we see. It does seem to be the same attack that he used to squish Akainu, like, and give him scoliosis in Marineford, so maybe it's the same one. Garp uses good old Galaxy Impact, and Roger uses Divine Departure. And then we see Rox use an attack called Pandemonium of the Abyss, or apparently the kanji reads as Curse of the Abyss. And this kind of just builds on and really fits the whole theme of Emu being a demon and using some kind of like void, abyss, dark dimension powers, whatever the fuck. This is a bit of a sidetrack, but I have to say I'm loving Kaido in this flashback, as he's so chaotic. Sorry guys. And is really just there for shits and giggles, honestly. He's given major like crazy little brother vibes. We do then cut to Emu just like reforming, and he appears to be perfectly fine, which is insane considering he just ate an attack that would like one-shot any other character. This really just like sets Emu up as like some insurmountable wall, because you have to remember these attacks have like advanced Conqueror's Haki, Armament Haki. Like this is all like the strongest people we've seen in the entire verse, and it did nothing. It makes me think that to defeat Emu in the present, they're gonna have to like jump him. Luffy, his entire crew, Sabo, Dragon, maybe even Blackbeard, definitely Loki, for a couple reasons. First off, we definitely saw him in the like mural alongside Joy Boy fighting against what was definitely Emu. I can't remember what chapter that was in, but it's the one that Frankie sees, which I'm really hoping we all see, or we go more in depth into when we go back to Elbaf, because that was really interesting. Anyway, that's getting besides the point. I definitely think Loki will be a part of it, because he definitely has the fruit that Rox wanted on Elbaf. You know, one of the ones that he claimed, he was like, oh, I want 2 fruits I really need. Sorry guys, I've got a bit of a sore throat right now. And he says in chapter 1156, he's like, oh, it will only show its true power if Harold ate it. And this makes me think maybe you need to be an ancient giant to like awaken it to its full potential. And considering Loki is an ancient giant and he ate it, maybe that fruit, whatever it is one of the fruits that can actually damage Emu, and that's why Rox wanted it. And obviously the other one is going to be the Nika fruit. But whatever the case, when Emu does actually get it defeated, it's going to be one hell of a fight. Anyway, we then see like Emu launch a massive blast of Conqueror's Haki all over the island, knocking out tons of people. We see the Roger Pirates like running away, led by Rayleigh. We see Dragon get up, and he realizes he's lost Shanks, and there's this really funny panel where he's got like a lock in his arms. And it just really reminded me of like the substitution jutsu from Naruto. And then in like next couple of panels, we see like Shanks crawl towards the shiny open chest, which had some gold in it, which is obviously how Roger finds him in a chest. This kind of makes me wonder though if it like haunts Dragon, that he couldn't rescue him. And I'm also wondering if he ever realised that Shanks did escape when he sees him in the newspapers, like later on in life. I think it would be really cool if we saw like his reaction, or if he found out that Shanks was Luffy's mentor. I think that could be a really interesting moment, but who knows. Anyway, we then cut back to Emu, and we see a little snippet of like Big Mom and Kaido arguing, and he's saying like, "Oh, it's too late to throw up the fruit," and she's like, "Oh, you have to pay me back then," which is fucking hilarious considering she holds this grudge for like 38 years. We also see like a little snippet of like Garp and Roger arguing over who's attacked did more damage. And then we see like Garp, Emu kind of doing like a little monologue. Like he starts saying, "Oh, I can see him running through the forest. The woman and child, a new branch of the Davy family. They can't possibly live." And then Rox realizes what he's talking about, so he starts like slashing him to bits, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And now here is the absolutely insane part that everyone's going nuts over. We kind of predicted it. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't happen, but I did predict it in my last video. We see him use Domi Reversi on Rox. He says to Rox, he's like, "Oh, it's not going to be me who acts. Go forth and exterminate your family." As he like pierces him with his shadows, and he uses Domi Reversi on him. And Rox is like, "What? What the fuck are you on about?" But then he starts like fucking convulsing, and we see him turning into one of the demons, just like his dad and his grandma, which is super fucking sad. This is not the way to go for my goat. And then we end on a panel of Eris and Teach running through the forest, which does not leave me with a good feeling for next time. Sorry guys, I just had to get some water from my throat. Anyway, yeah, so this ending does make me think a couple of scenarios could happen. First off, I think maybe Rox could resist it just enough to like ask Roger to kill him to protect his family, and maybe Garp decides to help him out, or out of respect, or maybe just acknowledges, oh, he has to be stopped, even if it means fighting with Roger. Or maybe he's like, "Oh, I don't want to let Roger take all the fun." But whatever the case, this leads to the like Garp Roger team up that Sengoku mentioned when we first got told about God Valley. This does beg the question, I have to say. Did Garp just like not tell Sengoku the full story of what happened, or maybe he refused to because of how fucked up the whole situation was, because he had to compromise his morals by like fighting alongside one of the pirates whose like entire way of living he hates? Or maybe Sengoku just didn't want to let the Marines like that he was telling when we saw him talk about God Valley. Maybe he just didn't want to let know the full story, because that's definitely dangerous information to have. Yeah, so maybe he was protecting them, or who knows, I don't know. I'm hoping that question will be answered. The second scenario I could see is Demon Rox does end up hunting down Eris and Teach, and he does end up killing Eris, which is the darker option, and I'm really hoping this doesn't happen, but maybe this act of him like killing her like brings him back to his senses just enough to like back off and let Roger and Garp like fight him, and maybe like begs them to like help Teach escape. Perhaps this is also where Whitebeard could come in. Maybe he could agree to like help Teach escape, and maybe just maybe he like ends up trusting Kuma to teleport him away, because otherwise I don't see a scenario where Whitebeard wouldn't help against Demon Rox, especially given like him standing alongside Rox against Emu. My goal would never just abandon him. Who would definitely abandon him is Big Mom, because she has no loyalty whatsoever and she's a hoe. So she would definitely just abandon him as soon as she saw Demon Rox. Maybe Kaido does too, but I don't really see it because he's kind of an honourable dude. Like, yeah, even though he is a villain, he's kind of an honourable dude, and I don't think he would do it. So maybe Rox attacks him and it doesn't kill him but it knocks him out, or maybe Whitebeard does, and then he takes him off the island. And this is why maybe Rox attacking him is why he talks about betrayal later on in life. Who knows? I'm hoping we see it in the next chapter there. Regardless of what happens, it's going to be absolutely bonkers. We do have no break next chapter, which will be on Halloween. Which, even though it's unplanned, is very fitting given the whole demon shit that's going on right now in the world. Also, I think this flashback is coming to an end pretty soon. I'll probably give God Valley only like 1 or maximum 2 chapters left. Which is sad because this was the best flashback ever, but hey, at least we'll go back to I'm excited to see Loki's flashback, maybe see more about his fruit and finally get back to the present. But I don't think Loki's flashback, I think it's only going to be like 5, 6, maybe 7 chapters, which would mean, assuming there's no more breaks, that the flashback could end in December. So maybe it will. We'll see. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. I know it's been a while since I posted. I'll definitely be posting another Skyrim video. It's just like I said in the beginning, sometimes life gets a bit chaotic. If I was doing this full time, it'd be a different story, but I have other things going on in life. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.